phone set up so that I can see what's going on the. Oh yeah, we're live already. What's going on, people? Jesse here with the OG Spotlight with one of the OGest of the OGs, Mr. Henry Nutt. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing all right, Jesse, man. Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
Well, I've got a little bit of energy. I don't know if you can tell my golden tan over here from hanging out on the beach for a
Nice,
week.
nice.
Um, had me a good time, got in last night safe, and everybody here is healthy and safe. So life is amazing, Henry. Folks out there in the Omniverse, let us know where you're tuning in from. Uh, drop your name in the chat. Let us know where you're at. If you're on lunch break or if you're like playing hooky from work, I won't tell on you, I promise. Uh, and Henry and I are going to talk. Well, maybe we should give some people some background. So, the whole idea behind the OG Spotlight is to highlight the amazing people that are doing amazing things to leave this world better than they found it. And Henry, you're absolutely one of those people, and you've been doing it for a minute now. It ain't like you just started. And one of the things, it was a conversation between Christy Powell, Angela Gardner, and myself. We were talking about marketing, the things that we're doing to highlight the construction industry, raise awareness, and so forth. And I was like, y'all are doing a lot of stuff. Like, why aren't you telling people? I'm like, well, we're not comfortable. And then so I started thinking more and more about our people. We're not good at highlighting the stuff that we do. And so I said, well, you know what? That's a perfect excuse for me to create this live stream series to help brag on my people because my people ain't that good about bragging about themselves. What do you think, Henry?
Oh, absolutely. I think if we got into it for that reason, we probably wouldn't have any content. It's one of those things where you find something that's important to you, and you just start digging into it, and you're on a mission, whether it's a project, it's a team, it's an industry, whatever it is you're trying to improve. You go on it because that's what you want to do. And all the accolades and the things that come after that was never a part of it. And yes, you are absolutely right that we did not get into this business as these folks that know how to get on stage and articulate thoughts to an audience where we don't get, tomatoes thrown at us at the end of it. You know, and I definitely did not. I've been doing this for a long time now, probably 35 years, almost to be exact, and really capturing the stuff happened really late in life, and it wasn't because that was my mission. My mission was to help people and to help change and impact what I could, and do it in a way that mattered to me. And all the other stuff that happened along the way was cool, but it was not part of it. So yeah, we need help. We need people like you that want to provide a platform and say, hey, let's talk about this stuff. And uh, the OGs used to be the other people, and now I'm in that bucket at
Yes.
the prime age of 54. So yeah, I guess I'm in that. I am an official OG now.
Official OGest of the OGs, Henry. I got to make sure people understand where we're coming from, right?
Right, right, right.
Um, and so we got some people in the audience. We got Buddy Brumley coming in from Denton, Texas. What's going on? But Buddy's like a fierce support. Have you been able to meet Buddy yet, Henry?
We haven't officially met, but I feel like he's like a brother, from the LinkedIn world, and just the things that he's done, the support he's given, just the mindset. There's an alignment, an infinity that I see, feel, and recognize every time there's some interaction and seeing the things that he's promoting. So we're at the same mission, same mindset, and trying to transform this industry for the better. So I appreciate Buddy and what he's doing.
Oh man, Buddy's another one of those just super humble, super amazing people that like leaves an impression. And I don't know if Buddy knows it or if maybe he thought I was joking, but Buddy is going to be the one of the voices on our the audio version of Lean in Love. So, Buddy, If you didn't hear me before, this time it's out there in the Omniverse. You're going to be one of the readers, one of the voices for the audio book once we get moving on that bad boy.
That's cool. Really
we
cool.
got George Hunt. You know George coming in from Boston.
I know George. Yes.
Yeah, little chilly. And then Mr. Bradley, who's also a kindred spirit. We just connected with him I connected with him on the LinkedIn, and then No BS with Jen and Jess, and he went to one of the after parties. Super special guy. We got to stay connected with Mr. Bradley out there.
Awesome.
So Henry, you said you came into the trade. I know a little bit of your story, and I think what you just said this morning, that there was, here in the recent years, and from my perspective, it's like the last decade, maybe decade and a half, where you've been very deep into like contributing into the trades and transforming the industry. What triggered that?
Well, it's been probably a little over 15 years, and actually started officially when I came to Southland. And it's one of the things about working for a great company is that you're able to, we use the term now, bringing your whole self to work, but really before that was a thing, it's what was happening. And you got a chance to really understand from this company what you're allowed to do, what they are encouraging and promoting. And I sat in this room with a bunch of leaders in my first week about how important it was for me as a leader to do what I need to do to change the dynamics of my job and help us make money and be safe and have the right mindsets, all that stuff. So it kind of set the foundation for like, oh, I can be me. This is what I do. And I found this connection in that location at this meeting. So it really kind of pushed forth the effort of getting involved, heavily invested in lean. The Southland is a very staunch promoter of lean construction and just the values that it represents. And I got to do that in a really authentic way and help people grow, and while we're making projects better, specifically in my division, but across the company. And so having that, being in rooms and talking with engineers and architects and all these different folks that run projects, and recognizing that no one was from the trades typically were in these conversations, but me, and hearing different folks saying, hey, here's how we're going to help the trades do this, do that. And I'm thinking, no, that's not right. And in that we should go this way versus that way or whatever. But instead of getting really critical over it and saying like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, I realized that there was no one else there representing us. So who is to blame them for trying? And so I had to realize that they were missing us in the room. And so I started joining the room and being at that table and being the voice. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. And it had nothing to do with, I'm going to try to make a name for myself. I'm going to just kind of fit in here and talk about a bunch of things. It was really like, I'm needed here. There's a problem that I can help solve. I'm going to get a part of it. And the rest just kind of blew up on its own, and next thing you know, I'm talking to 15 people in a quiet room to 1,600 people at an audience, at a conference about the same things. And never worried about the people I'm looking at on the stage. It was always about what was inside the heart and what message I was trying to convey and why it was so important to me. And because I believe it, it was easy to talk about it. I didn't need a script. I didn't need to rehearse my words. It was, this is what I know. That's all I can do. The moment I don't believe it, I'm sitting down. The moment it changes, somebody else has to take the mantle, because I don't do that, talk about stuff I don't believe very well. I can't get scripted PowerPoint and get up there and talk about a bunch of things that I don't believe. Everybody in the audience would know and say, go sit down somewhere. So it's
get off the stage.
Like, hurry up, you're syncing the place up, and so
Yes.
that's really where it started, and where it continues to kind of to grow is always about that passion and belief for knowing your niche and what you have to offer, and not being afraid to just speak about it. And that's the story.
Yeah. And so people don't know, you came up through the sheet metal local shop. up in on the West Coast in California, correct?
Yeah, Northern California, local 104, sheet metal worker, still a card carrying member. And yeah, got in 1987.
Whew.
Been doing it since then, and obviously transitioned to different roles, but still representing, the craft. That's my foundation.
Yeah. And so you lived it. It's not a theoretical observation. You've been on the side with having your hands on the tools, dealing with, um, we'll say, challenging projects, challenging leadership, challenging perspectives. And so when you were going through that, Henry, did you ever see a time where you would be the face or the spokesperson for the trades, like at large? Because that's kind of what you are.
Yeah, no, I did not. I did the quick, unequivocal. No, absolutely not. Uh, no, I really didn't. And like you said, been in the trenches, and 20 years of my trade was me out in the field in some capacity installing work. And the last say 13 of it was leading the folks who install the work. So it's still that person connected to the projects regularly. And there is no way that I ever thought that I would one day be on a stage, be representing some kind of messaging for the industry that has a large audience. No, I just wanted to do my job and go home. Like, I didn't even want a leadership role because I even understood folks who were in leadership, their jobs, they follow them home,
Oh
and you
yeah.
take off the tool belt and just go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day with your family. In leadership, you carry it with you. And, I didn't want any of that. So those weren't the plans, but there are greater plans for me than I realized, and then you just learn to embrace them. Uh,
Yes.
but connect that passion and belief for it. It made it a lot easier to focus on that than maybe some of the hardships that you may have that come along with leadership.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of what comes across, Henry. I know we've met several times in person. You just have this calm, um, I'll say humble presence about you, and we've all dealt with them. There's different folks in leadership. It's obvious that they just wanted to be in that role. They wanted the title. They wanted maybe not the responsibility, but the visibility. Anyways, they really wanted it. And being around you, it's clear that not necessarily something that you wanted. It's more of a calling that you were answering, whether you liked it or not. You stepped up and you're doing what we need you to do, right? What our people need from us.
Yeah.
Uh, so thank you for that. You mentioned that now you bring your full self to work. And there's a couple of things associated with, which is a big, big deal, right? Like we're talking a lot about the suicide problem in the construction industry, mental wellness, substance abuse, all these things. And I found this little thing on my desk here, seven principles, and it says it was written by Henry Nutt. And we got a comment about that. Adam Hoots is saying that is an OG worth the spotlight for sure. Two world renowned authors right there. How long was this book cooking up inside you, Henry?
Um, First, let me say thanks for the shout out, Adam. Love you back, brother. Um, Man, that book was in my spirit for over 10 years. I
Wow.
I tell people, and I tell them 86 pages, so it's pretty thin. Um, Took me 10 years to write, and part of that journey was this going through some transformations in my own personal life. Some of it was not believing that the message was going to resonate, and just getting to that point where you wrote this stuff, you were passionate about it, but then you just put it on the shelf and said, that's common. No, everybody knows this already. Why didn't you write a book about it? And then somewhere along the line, I met different people, and it's funny because I met someone or read a book myself that talked about timeless words. They're
Mm.
like a good song or a fine wine, and we can all relate to that. There's music that I grew up with that I listen to today that brings back memories, and it's timeless. Or a fine wine that you may have on the shelf and you bring it out and it's better, than it would have been when you drank it when it was in its time. So it's recognizing that those words that people say to us that we reflect on and things that we do, um, those are that's important. And I had to realize that, okay, that's me. These words are timeless. These things don't change. They will always be true. Um, Write the book, and so kind of
Do
got off
it.
my butt and literally sitting it on the shelf for 10 years. Then once I got this kind of kick, it was 6 months. Find a publisher, finish it, edit, schedule your time like you would anything else that's important to you, make it a meeting and put it on your calendar and then go do it. And I did that. So, but the great thing about it was everything happens the way it's supposed to happen in some ways, right? And so I thought, oh man, I missed the boat. I should have had this written by this time. But who would have known 10 years from that point, and we get there and we're here in March of 2022 when it was published, that we'd be in the state that we're in this industry where we are ripe for the conversation.
Yes.
So the book would have been premature if it was sent out back then, but the thought was there, but it needed to like set in the stew essentially, because it would have been nothing like having a stew with hard potatoes. You wanted to be softened and ready to eat, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and I would have never known. I could have never put that together like that.
Right.
So it's been great to put this out now and be able to share that story, and it ties into so much going on in the world, let alone construction.
Yeah, it's universal stuff, man. So, folks, if you haven't got it, it's 7 principles creating your success in the construction industry. And Buddy's like for real. He says Henry's book is full of golden nuggets on each page. Nice, easy read. It's a good place to go in and find like you said, it like just the words. It's simple, like, and when I say simple, like it's not complex in terms of the language. It's just like, oh yeah, I get that. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
remember that. I remember what that felt like.
yeah.
Um, oh,
No,
so that's
exactly.
beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And so you talked about the timing of things, and Emerson Doherty right now, CM Lee, he's completing a punch list walkthrough and know it's going to be good. So perfect timing to have some soothing conversation while you're doing a punch list walkthrough. Thank you for joining us, Emerson.
Yes.
Um, so the book comes out. It was marinating for 10 years, comes out right at this point in time, post COVID, where people, well, at least for me, that helped me reset or refocus my lenses on where my direction like in life was going to be.
Yeah.
And I've had some significant change over the past 3 years, like gigantic, and growth specifically. And I think a lot of people have experienced that, right? Like because of that, people have become more aligned with what's important to them, uh, beyond work and financial income. Um, and so the mental health, suicide epidemic came up. DEI is a big deal. Um, and it feels like you're on a rocket ship to the top on all of these things. How do you feel about that, Henry?
It's for me, and you live your life in the purpose that you know what you're supposed to do. When you finally connect the dots of why you exist in the world, um, those things don't surprise you anymore, and you're not overwhelmed by it, you're not overtaken by it, and you're not pumped up. It's not about ego. It's
Mm.
really about finding your like your purpose in the earth, and this is a part of that for me, and it's not about any kind of notoriety or anything, and it's who I am, and so it's not that it doesn't have its own set of challenges, and you're frustrated, and sometimes you feel the pain of the problem more than anybody else, and that's not
Mm.
for the faint of heart, because you, as much as you feel like, or others may feel like, you're making such an accomplishment and you're doing some great things and you're creating opportunities for people to have conversations that they always wanted to have, when you actually are the one that carries the burden of that, sometimes with that whole idea of continuous improvement, it's really important for that trajectory to happen, but it's also recognizing that you do have to pause, and you do have to every once in a while smell the roses, look back and see what you've accomplished to help other people. Otherwise, you never really feel like you've arrived anywhere, and you never get a sense of like, okay, we're making progress. Okay, we're doing better. And you can imagine that person that is on that trek of continuous improvement, which we all understand is great, but when do you breathe? When do you acknowledge that you've arrived somewhere so that you can like just pause, reflect, and do the things you're trying to tell other people to do, and you don't do it yourself, right? And so that's the part, right? So you carry this burden that is always inside of you, and you could always find things that will indicate you're not there yet, or we're not there yet, and you have to give yourself that license to enjoy it. And that's a hard one for me, and I have to have people around me that remind me of that.
Ah,
Otherwise, I can stay on this mission of we've got so much left to do, and you don't even see the progress because you're so focused on the things that need to still happen. Um, and so it's a blessing and a curse sometimes, it feels like. But overall, it's embracing it and really just knowing that at the end of the day, this is about legacy, and you're leaving something for people to carry and continue. We should all be thinking about that. And I challenge people that are close to retirement, or are thinking about it, have had some years in the industry, and I always ask them, "What is your legacy?
mm,
What are you trying to leave?"
mm.
I know you're smart and you're fast, and you made all these different accomplishments, but what is that one or two things that you want people to remember about you?
Yeah,
And it really helps them think about that in a way that they didn't before, and that's
yeah,
important. Yeah,
totally important. I know when I finally started making the shift from achievement to contribution, my life changed
yeah,
because my fulfillment went up, right? Achieving and accomplishing things and getting certificates and, accolades. Like it was like, okay, I need another one. I need another one. I need another one. But then when I shifted to like contribution, like what am I here for? How can I contribute to the betterment of people's lives? And like you said, man, like that early transition, like it's very similar, maybe just bigger to the transition of being an installer to all of a sudden leading teams, right? Because when I was an installer, I could see what I did at lunchtime. At every hour, I could turn around and look at my work and see the progress.
yeah,
When I got promoted, foreman, superintendent, etc., my work was not as visible. Like the progress, you can't see it anymore. And so the same thing, what I took away from what you were saying is, you're out there changing the world, and to be able to see the progress in front of us, it's a mirage. Like you can't see it because there's so much work to be done.
yeah,
But if you pause and look back and reflect, you've done a bunch,
yeah. You
right?
do.
I mean, you've
Yeah,
done a bunch. So you got the book out. You're a phenomenal leader. I know you're involved with a trade focused initiative with LCI.
yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. Absolutely. So just had a call today. Matter of fact, we do biweekly call for the last 3 years. When I got on the board for LCI, one of the things that I was encouraged to do is work on something that helps you in your day job, so that
Mm.
it doesn't feel like extra work, because it could. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I approached Dan Hannemeyer, the executive director, and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about something relates to trades. I've been going to Congress for at that point, I don't know, 10 years or something." And
Yep.
I said, "You can get to that point where you start looking at going to that big event every year, which is great to see all these people, but you get tired of hearing the same stories. And when you're on your journey of growth and maturity, at some point you start arriving and getting to these different spots in your journey, and you're saying, well, what I need is not here anymore. And if I don't continue to get it, I'm going to go somewhere else." And I shared that with Dan, that we need something more. And we talked about attendance level of trade partners versus others. And so we got on this mission, and we created this what we call the Trade Partner Task Force. And we had some focuses of how we're going to partner with labor organizations across the country, with academics, understanding what are the reasons trades one don't come to Congress or continue, and what are some of the resistance and that comes with being lean, and lean initiatives on projects. So we had a kind of a group of different folks, different backgrounds. We had a GC, the different crafts and trades that met like once a week and talked about it. We were throwing stuff at a wall for several years, matter of fact, and then we ended up putting together some different videos and captions on LinkedIn. And then we went further and got other people involved and said, someone, I don't know where the idea actually came up, but we talked about why trade partners weren't participating and answering the question, what's in it for me? And then we said, well, how do people learn? What do trades go to learn? And we did some surveys and found out people go to YouTube. So we
Yeah.
said, why don't we put together a YouTube page for LCI that focuses on continuous improvement? And so we did that, and we're kind of hit and missing, and we got this thing started, and it kind of went and kind of fell flat. And then we got some more folks involved that were a little smarter than us in different categories, and began to put together more of a comprehensive, like, hey, we can create a video library. It can have 2 to 6 minute videos that showcase a current state, and then what is the improvement, and share that in a video. You don't have to be a member of LCI. It's called the Field Crew Huddle, and it's about, this is a place where people come to huddle and learn, engage, have conversation. And so now we're like at 116 subscribers. We are like multiplying our engagement by exponential numbers. They're still small, but they're still big for us.
Yeah.
And we have now Threshold Media, who is a part of LCI, who has given us the analytics, understanding where people are wanting to see, what they want to hear, the visual part of it. All these things we're all learning as a team, and it's forcing all of us to step out of our comfort zone and like get on our own platforms of social media and promote not
Yes.
only the site, but ourselves in some degree. And I say, hey, everybody wants to joke about Henry's being the LinkedIn guy, like, but this is not about Henry. This is about all of us. So I want you guys to also step out of your uncomfortness and get on that stage and do a 30-second splash about something in regards
Yeah.
to what we're going to accomplish, and see how people will be attracted to that. So not only LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever they do, they're going to do that. But it's been such a great journey, and seeing the views, the growth, the impact, and we're only the beginning. And it creates this opportunity for anyone in the industry to be put on a stage that's well known, LCI, in the Construction Institute, and then showcase what you're doing. And because we hear enough negativity about jobs and about what trade partners aren't doing, there's many of them that are doing great things. Whether they're my competitors or not, doesn't even matter. It's about, go do that, and let's showcase it, and let's let the world know that we have innovative leaders and thought, provoking folks out there that are trying to make the industry better in various ways. And here's a platform to prove that.
Yeah. No, I think it's powerful. Some people know that I was a plumber at a point in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not a plumber anymore, right? Like, I'm not, pretty good looking dude up here, right? Well kept. I don't have hard hat hair. So other trade professionals, it's difficult for them to connect with even me, even though I spent over 25 years in the trades.
Yeah.
And so, like, being able to see somebody that looks like me, like, I can imagine if I was an apprentice, back when I was an apprentice or journeyman, etc., seeing apprentices and journeymen, etc., on stage unlocks a whole new door for me. And so what y'all are doing with that initiative there, I think is planting some major seeds. They're going to turn into something beautiful. And so transitioning into the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, how do you ever feel like, I can't believe we're finally talking about this?
Um, I maybe once upon a time I was feeling that way, and then I think about it's about time that we feel
For real. Yeah, that's probably the best way.
probably
Yes.
more of that thought than the other.
Yeah.
Um, because it's raw. Human beings are all different, and I think we're taught many ways, whether you're a person of color or you're a woman in this industry, that what you thought and how you felt about that was just not to be discussed. It was keep it to yourself and go get the job done, and that's the attitude, right? And but we're recognizing now, uh, thankfully, many that we are this kaleidoscope of people. We got all different backgrounds and experiences, and they can all bring value. And we're promoting that we want you to show up how you are so that you can bring that perspective, why you think the way you think. And great leadership is about recognizing that and setting up the atmosphere and the culture to allow that kind of idea or thought to be promoted and to grow. And so I've got a chance to be a part of some different organizations and groups with some really smart people, with some very passionate and talented people in that particular space that I've learned uh, so much from them, and so being able to help my own company, work with some different organizations that are providing guidance for their membership to be a part of that. It's just been a phenomenal kind of just unintentional part for me to be in and to recognize again where the industry is, and we loop in statistics like suicide in our industry, the pressure, what this industry has represented for so long, and probably the areas that aren't so great. Um, that has boiled over and is making an impact. It always has, but
Yeah.
now we're paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Now we're recognizing. Now we're bringing a voice to it and people that represent that pain or issue, where we can't deny it. We can't pretend like it hasn't existed or it's not existing. And if you want to continue um, to be a vibrant and viable company or a destination, you're going to have to make some adjustments. And it's not just about being sued. You know, to do
Exactly.
the wrong thing. It's really about recognizing you could do so much more. You could be so much better if you recognize this plethora of knowledge and talent and people that don't necessarily look like the ones that you have had forever. Now it's not outs those. It's bringing more and being
Yeah.
intentional about bringing in the right ones, and they don't have to look all the same.
Yeah.
And that's really the beauty of it. And I've been in this industry so long, and to say that I remember when I was again the person, the leader, but I was not necessarily the one that people went to because they assumed that I wasn't, and they have to redirect them and say you got to go talk to Henry. To a point where now it's like, yeah, go talk to Henry. But
Right.
it's recognizing that you kind of almost have to kind of put yourself, like you have to shun your own self in order to survive, because
Yes.
you don't want to disrupt. You don't want to create any waves. You don't want to like you're upstaging someone, even though you weren't. You're just being yourself. I can't help that I'm talented in an area and you're not, right? But it's not a threat. It should be
Exactly.
make me a part of your team and we can knock it out, right?
Yeah.
Together. So it's those kind of ideas that now uh, that's first of mind versus it being a thing that you have to keep inside. And we talk about words or phrases like learning to be uncomfortable or comfortable with being uncomfortable, and it's one thing to say it and it's one thing to live it, and then to look at that and ask this person that's been conditioned to feel like they may be superior but they really aren't, and they know they're not, but because they can walk that walk, now suddenly there's a cloak being pulled off and there's exposure in a sense where now, hey, all of us understand we have value, all of us understand that we have a right to this career path, and we're going to find out and figure it out, and I hope it's with you, but if it's not, I'm going to keep moving you
Right.
know
Yep. I'm gonna be awesome everywhere I go. So I can be awesome here. I can be awesome somewhere else. But
Yeah,
I think that goes for all of us. And like we
yeah.
don't have to suppress that anymore. I mean, I'm not like for real. It's still horrible out there,
Mhm.
right? It's still we have not achieved the ideal state in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion.
Right.
But we have made leaps and bounds.
Yes.
And like Miss Lynn Randall says, have you met Lynn? She's up your way. She's up on the California coast there. Just shut up. Just try to fit in. Don't be yourself. Been
Yes.
there, done that, right? Like, because that's kind of how it is. I mean, heck, I remember my mom like, Mijo, you're crazy. Why are you so, why do you always say so much? Like, just keep your head down. Like, don't stir it up. Like, Mom, like, I can't. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. And that was promoted. I mean, that was promoted in homes,
Mhm.
communities, in the place of in workplace. So it's been the norm is just be quiet, put your head down. Like, no, not
No,
everyone wants to do that anymore. So
no, 100%.
thankfully.
Yes. So, any OGs you want to shout out, Mr. Henry?
Oh man. I think about one of the persons that was an impact for me. He's no longer with us. His name was Raul Guerrero, and he was my superintendent in a former company. And he was one of the people that gave me this shot. He was this bigger than life kind of guy that did all the work, the large projects for this particular company, and gave me a chance. And I asked him about when he gave me my first shot. I asked him, "How do you do this, and how were you successful, and what should I do?" And his words, it wasn't all this like drop this big giant thing of knowledge on me. It was more like the basics, like show up every day, work hard, care about what you're doing. And then he just gave me the shot. He just gave me the chance, and he didn't manage the chance that I got. He just go do it, make it happen. Um, and so he's someone that I really looked up to and developed a kinship with. There's another gentleman named Michael Riley, same company, that was the person that really gave me my first chance. And when I realized, okay, Henry, because I left the trade, I'm coming back. I need to have a different mindset. He's the guy that I had this opportunity with, and I took it on and took a risk, and he affirmed that risk, and that's when my job became my career, and that was
Mm.
25 plus years ago when that shift happened. And then the last person that I'll acknowledge really quick is Victor Sanvito. He's been like my mentor. He's a kind of notorious in this industry for being like a lean champion, and he comes from academia as well as having a kind of a boots on the ground experience too from his homeland, but just someone that really encouraged me and was the first person that I got encountered with from a leadership capacity at Southland that talked about leadership in a way that I really connected with. And that was CS, our group. What does every leader need? And I paused for 10 seconds and blurted out my answer because there's lots of answers you can come up with. And I said, followers. And he said, you're absolutely right. And at the end of the day, it's like we can talk about we need to be humble or you need to be able to think ahead and all these things can fit. But if we don't have anyone following us, we're not really leading. We may have all this information and stuff, but
Yes.
we need people. We need to be able to look behind and say there's a group that are engaging with me because they believe in what I'm doing or saying. But if there's
Yes.
no one there, you're leading maybe not in you're not leading, you're in your mind leading, but you
Yeah.
got to have people that support and stand behind what you are saying. And that's really key. So those are just a few of the folks that there's many, obviously my parents and all that, but
Yeah.
those are some of the people in the industry that have been very um, inspirational and helpful for my journey.
Amazing. Well, we got Mr. Bradley says, be a human. Aligning that mentality with Andy Griffith's, I'm as cool as the center seed of a cucumber. I like that one. Ought to
Yeah,
be a little more expressed on both ends of the spectrum.
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Well, Mr. Henry, man, I appreciate all the time you've given us. You got any last minute thoughts? What did we miss?
Oh man, we got it all. We got everything we needed. Again, my last minute thoughts would be to you, the book with Jen. I appreciate the platform. This platform being here, being able to share, being able to have this conversation. I always say, no matter what, we're talking about no matter what issues, whether it's suicide, whether it's getting more women in the industry, all these different dynamic topics that really move us at that human level. If we don't have a conversation about it, we're not making an impact. And maybe we don't have all the problems, we don't solve the world's problems in 50 minutes, but what we do is we give impact, we give opportunity, we get to share stories, and we're throwing out seeds to different people who choose to listen to this and share with others to say, you know what, I know our industry used to be this, and yes, there's still a lot for us to do to make it better, but what we're doing now didn't exist. I have
Yeah.
to know and believe that that is making an impact, and when I get to be a part of it a little bit, makes me just like all about it and understand that it's bigger than me. And so I appreciate you guys doing this and setting this up. So thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you. And folks out there in the Omniverse, thank you for coming in. Share this with your people because I know Henry's like super inspirational. So, and I know he's got followers. Like he's not a leader. He's not the person that read all the books and knows all the language. He got people following them. So spread the word. Appreciate y'all taking your time today. And Henry, I appreciate you, my man. I hope you enjoy your Christmas parties and have an amazing holiday. And I hope to see you in person before Congress. Like I gotta make my way over to California to hang out with you and Lynn.
Likewise, we got to make that happen. Let's do
Yes,
that.
sir. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all. Peace.